try to introduce what the structure means and what is the difference between the civil engineering structure with the structure of other branches. And then we'll try to discuss that what are the difficulties we have on the health monitoring for the civil engineering structures. So here we will find that structural health monitoring term is very attractive, and nowadays a lot of research also is going on. But once we finish this lecture, you will observe, you will feel that though it is very attractive, but there is a lot of difficulty is there. And for the especially for the civil engineering structures, it is more difficult than the other structure. Okay, so in this lecture, I divided the lecture in two parts. Initially, I'll discuss about the what the structure means and what the difference we have for the civil engineering structure with the structure of your uh, naval structure, aerospace structure. Okay, and we also discuss what is the uniqueness we have, what the uniqueness we have for, in terms of civil engineering structures. Then we'll go to the damage. So structural health monitoring directly is related to the damage. So we'll see what are the damage means. Okay, and then we'll try to see the what is the definition of structural health monitoring and what are the things we need to do for the health monitoring of the structures, and later on also discuss what are the different type of damage we have. So damage and structural health monitoring is very correlated. Okay, so you will find that the damage basically level have the basically we have different level of damage, and in structural health monitoring point of view also you'll find that it also have different level. And after that we'll discuss that what are the methodology we have for the health monitoring. Okay, direct method, indirect method, there is other thing, global method, local method. So all we'll discuss. So once we finish this part, then we'll go to the our various damage detection strategy, that what the different branches use. So what you will observe that initially that civil engineering term, if we realize, you will see that at the beginning all branches was under civil, but as the day comes, as the technology develop, okay, the different branch separate themselves from the civil. So initially civil means which is basically applicable for the civilian people, okay, for civil people. So and what happened from there, you will find that aerospace structure they develop, they have some unique features, so they make themselves separate from the civil. And then electrical they make themselves separate from the civil. Mechanical also they separate from the civil. So now what happened, when there is some advancement thing is there, and then when the advancement occur in the one part of topic, one topic, they make it a separate department for them. Now what happened, we have only structure part and few part is the transportation and geotech. Okay, and you also observe that environment also nowadays is going to be separated. You will see that in USA, in some other university, they have environment and civil department. So you will later on also you'll observe that some part of the environment is also separated from the civil. So those which are advanced, going to the advanced, they are making themselves separate from the civil. So now what happened, we have only very limited things, and our technological development though we have, and you also will observe that we are trying to apply the technology which is basically initially applied by the electronics people, then aerospace, then mechanical, then that is coming to civil engineering structures. Okay, so what happened, you will find that damage detections methodology which is very popular and very much applicable for the mechanical engineering or aerospace. Okay, but same thing we are not able to apply. Though we try to apply it, you will find that we have our own difficulties, and it is very difficult for us to apply the same methodology for the civil engineering structure. Okay, so at the end you will find though the structural health monitoring term is very attractive, but it is very at the end it is very difficult. Okay, so to overcome the difficulties, what we used to do, we used to use one fine driven model, and also we used to do some sort of testing can be done your dynamic testing, that also can be static testing. Okay, so at then also realize that we don't have any other options. Okay, so we'll discuss one by one. So initially I try to give the overall idea so that later on when I go shift the topic from one topic to another topic, you can join the link. Okay, so that I was discussing the local method and global method. So local damage detection basically uh, in the sense that you are knowing the locations, but exactly you're not able to pinpoint. That's basically local, and global is basically you are taking the response which is global in nature, and from there we try to identify. Okay, so we'll discuss what are the difficulty we have in the local damage detection and the global damage detection. Both have some certain advantages, certain disadvantages. We will all discuss that part, and at the end we'll discuss about the some forward problem and inverse problem. So forward problem it's not a problem, it's basically forward model. Okay, so forward model in the sense, suppose you have one structure and you are modeling it regularly, means many times. That is basically forward model, and there you are not applying any indirect way or inverse way. You are not employing any other algorithms. Okay, we are just believing that your forward model is correct, and from the forward model you are trying to identify all the damages and try to do the health monitoring of the structures. Another is the inverse model. Inverse model, what is to do? Inverse model basically is to solve the forward model many times. Okay, you used to change the parameter and you to solve that forward structure many times, and from the discrepancy in the responses, it is try to identify what is the cause of the damage, and and you basically identify cause of the damage. Once it identify, it will inform you, okay, probably this is the location, and it may not be correct, that there is a some human interference. You have to there human interference will be there. Okay, because though you will find that genetic algorithms, PSO, there are a lot of algorithms which people are employing to identify damage and doing some sort of health monitoring things, but it is not free from human interference. What happened that computer do not know what actually you are doing. So if you feed a wrong data, it will predict the data from the wrong model. Okay, so there human interference is required. Okay, if you have basically you have to first develop a correct model, then only your prediction may be correct. Not it cannot give a certainly say that yes, this is the actual cause of the damage or actual reason. There is some human interference is required, and you have to see. So this part I will discuss. So and then after that we will discuss about the so next is written there vibration based model updating approach. Basically in this initial lecture part I will discuss about what is the structure means and how our civil engineering structure is different than the other structures, and what is the uniqueness we have, and from the health monitoring point of view what is the difficulty we have, and how we can sort out this issue. Okay, so let us go one by one. So I hope you will enjoy the journey of that structural health monitoring. So basically structure means is referred to a connected system which can carry load. Okay, so if the any part of the your building or any bridges or any other model do not carry any load, we do not say that is a structure. Main purpose of our structure is to carry some load. So suppose you have building, but there is some part which do not carry, we used to say that is our non-structural member, basically that do not carry any load. Okay, so now structure can be a different type. One is the civil engineering, naval, aerospace, and mechanical. There is some example also. I'm not going through all the details because you are knowing this is basic part. Now, if you see the civil engineering structure, basically design and construct and maintain for long time, and sometimes used to upgrade it. And while upgrading the things, we used to maintain that integrity of the structures. We have always have to maintain the integrity as well as safety and the serviceability, because that is a part of our limit state method. Okay, that also always should be maintained, and we also try to maintain the aesthetic and economic consideration as well as the environmental degradations. And once the lifespan of the structure is over, so we don't have any other options. We normally demolish the structure and dispose of all the structure. And there is one sort of research also is going on, that is your basically use of recycle aggregate for the structural application. Okay, so you will find there is some research work is going on that where you can use that recycle concrete. Basically, you can use that old concrete and use as a recycle aggregate. Okay, and we can come up with a structure. So what will happen at the one way, you are basically saving the environment. Okay, you are basically saving the cost of disposing of the old structure, and other way you also saving the nature, in the sense that you are not using some raw material, so you are also saving the structure. One way is that you are saving the money of disposing, another way you are also saving the nature. So problem is there. The problem for the recycle aggregate, though this is not a topic of our discussion, but let me say the problem with recycle aggregate is somehow it is reduce the strength. Okay, so if you use the recycle aggregate, basically that old concrete, and you just crash it and you just sieve it and come up with a size of the aggregate. And if you use that aggregate for your new construction, in that case you may have to compromise with the strength. But again, we have to see that whether that reducing the how much the strength is reducing, whether that strength is suitable for you or not. Okay. So recently, what I observed for the pavement concrete, uh, in earlier many researchers have used for the as a base material for the pavement underground material. Okay, but nowadays that recycle aggregate also can be used for the your rigid pavement, concrete pavement. Though there is some sort of reduction in strength, but uh, that is reduction in strength basically uh, do not hamper the performance of the structure that much. Though the basically strength is less, but uh, the reduction in the strength is not affecting the your overall performance of the basically rigid pavement. So you can do some sort of research there, because see, my interest was to let you know that how easily or how you can carry out some research with a minimum amount of resource. Okay, suppose you have some recycle aggregate or some demolished structure, you can use that structure and you also can start your own research on that topic. Okay, so let me discuss about our health monitoring of structure, because I suddenly diverted to other topic. But this is one important issue which you can also do some research on that. And one more thing is that a recycle aggregate, there is very less amount of research is there on the rigid pavement. USA have carried out many research on that recycle aggregate for the rigid pavement and some structure. Okay, but in India, less amount has been carried out, so you also can opt for that topic. Now, come to the uniqueness of our civil engineering structure. That uniqueness in the sense, you will find that all our structure are unique, and there is no baseline model. So basically, see, this topic I am talking about our health monitoring point of view. Though this is unique, now you may feel proud of that uniqueness, but problem will come in terms of health monitoring. So what happened? You will find that mechanical structure or aerospace structure are very repetitive. If they have one model, if you think of the Boeing 717, or if you seeing the car of one model, they are repetitive in nature, and there can be, if you do one test in one model, okay, that model is applicable for the other sample. But problem with us is that civil engineering structure all are very unique. Okay, so we will not have any baseline model for our health monitoring point of view. That is the most difficult or challenging thing of our civil engineering structures. Suppose you spend a lot of effort to solve for the health monitoring of one building, that method may not be again directly applicable for the other model, because there will be model, basically that model is, your model is unique and another building is totally different, and basically it is geometrical configuration, structural configuration all are different. Okay, so you will face a lot of difficulty in terms of your uniqueness. Another thing we have, that our structure is have basically long lifespan, and that is also costly. Okay, and the size of the structure is massive. Again, what will happen, since it is very massive, there is again one difficulty is there, that getting response of the massive structure is very difficult. You will find that for your mechanical, or if you go to any factory, so suppose one factory, some machine are running, okay, from that machine still since running, you can have lot of response from the machine. Okay, but from our problem is that our structure is so huge that it is very difficult to deflect. Okay, one more thing I will discuss the next after few slides. That thing, that idea will be clear, that since our structure is huge and very massive, and getting a response from the structure is still a difficult challenge. Okay, so that also basically one big hurdle for the health monitoring point of view. So here our structure also subjected to basically various environmental degradation, uncertain load, and frequency of the loading also different, and intensity also different. So if you think of the bridge, suppose one bridge is getting damaged for one region, but other bridge may get damaged for other regions, because that environmental impact is different, loading impact is different, and the frequency of loading and intensity all are different. Okay, so basically you cannot judge that what is the main cause of damage of all the bridges. You will find that there is a, since all the structure are unique, and environment, loading, intensity, frequency of the loading all are unique. So basically a damage, cause of damage also will be unique or different for the different type of bridge or different type of model. Now here come to the discussion of your difficulties of health monitoring. So I hope you will getting some idea that how that it is difficult for our civil engineering structure for the as a health monitoring point of view. Now see, now you may say that if it is so difficult, then what is the need for going for health monitoring? Now thing is that, see, if you are able to detect the damage, okay, if you are able to detect the health of a structure in early stage, okay, and if you take some precautions, then overall cost of the structure, if you see that cost in a lifespan will be drastically reduced. Okay, now suppose if you see recently few bridges damaged in Bihar. A few days back there is a building collapse in Bombay. Now think of, if the damage can be detected in the early stage, then life as well as money can be saved. Okay, so though there is difficulty, but we should not avoid the structure is unique and it is massive in nature. So here the difficulty, you see that control experiment is very difficult for our helmeting point of view. Okay, there is major difficulty in terms of our helmeting. And another thing is that need to work on the prototype. So now suppose you will find, suppose those are working on helmeting or dam, it's very difficult to do a real life experiment on the dam. Okay, in that case what happen, you have to go for reduced model. Now you can do on the reduced model, but difficulty is there, since you are reducing the dimension of the structure, you also need to reduce the property of the material. But you also basically need to have a prototype, basically reduce strain of the material. Otherwise what will happen, you will observe the rigid body type motion. Now those are again doing health monitoring on the bridge, or sorry, in the bridge model or in the frame model of the frame. So what will happen, there also will find that suppose you are doing that frame made of steel or aluminum, and you are doing that some sort of dynamics testing or earthquake testing, you will feel that there is no difference in the response at the base as well as the top of the frame. Okay, so the location is different, but you will find the response is different, almost nil. Any point? Okay. So
The screen. You have not shared the screen.
oh, okay. Okay. So that first topic was the control experiment. Second is the prototype or scaling down the model. So So the thing I was discussing, that basically if you reduce the model size, then you also have to model the material property as well. Now, if you are doing the health monitoring of a frame and you are using steel bar or aluminum bar, and you are using that little bit uh, more thick basically size, you will find that it is showing almost rigid body motion. So that the aim of your research will not fulfill. So there also you have to reduce the model. Okay, in that case, now what you have to do? Now, suppose you don't have any other metal, then you have to reduce the thickness. Okay, or you can say that reduce the member size, so that you get some sort of difference in the response in the different height of the structure. And another difficulty is that cost of the structure, basically cost of the costly, or you can say that in the sense of we are not allowing the damage to the structure. So though you will find that we have two type of health monitoring: one is the damage, or one is that basically without damage. Okay, so in some cases you will say that you will see that we are extracting some material. Okay, but again, extracting much material, okay, from that main building is not advisable. So we should try to avoid, because already structure is subject to damage due to environmental degradation, due to the impact, or different type of loading, due to age. Already the strength of the structure is reduced. Okay, now if you cut a sample from the original structures, that also may lead to the much more deterioration of the health of the structure. So basically, damage basically we should avoid, and then we should try for non-destructive, not as a destructive in nature, which is not destructive in nature, non-destructive evaluation. We should try. Another thing is that our structure is very massive and highly indeterminate. That's the things I already discussed. That main problem is that since it is very massive and highly indeterminate, it is very difficult for us to deform it. Now, suppose you are thinking of that we will go for some sort of testing. You are thinking of that you will get some deflection. Okay, then deflecting the main structure itself is very difficult job, because the indeterminacy of the structure is so huge. Because when you are designing the structure, that time I was very happy that if it is a indeterminate, then it will be very stable. All the things are there, but health monitoring point of view, that create a problem for us. And now that was in terms of deformations. Now, if you think of the vibration, then what happens? You need at least one vibrator to vibrate the whole structure, so that you can get some vibrational response. Okay, so these difficulties are there. Another thing is we have that the uniqueness that I already have discussed, that we don't have basically any baseline model. That again, since we don't have baseline model, then that health monitoring scheme which was applicable for one structure may not be applicable for second structure. And another part is that uncertainty of the load, both in terms of frequency and intensity. So that I already discussed, since that load is different, load intensity is different, and the frequency of the load, basically how frequently load is applied to the structure, is different. So basically, damage mechanism of one structure may be different than the other structure. So these are the difficulties we have for the health monitoring of a civil engineering structure. Now, if you come to the damage and its cause, okay, so basically damage we normally model as a reduction in the material properties. Okay, basically you will find that we are reducing the rigidity EI. Either we are reducing E value or we are reducing our I value. Now that is basically fully our modeling technique. Okay, there is a no relation with the actual damage of the structure. So basically, what happen, you will find that if you go for health monitoring of the structure, we try to find what is the damage locations. Okay, that time we are not bothered that how the damage has occurred. We try to get some response and try to see whether the structure is damaged or not. If it is damaged, then what is the location? Okay, so you will see that there's various level of damage is there. Okay, that I will discuss in details. So basically, damage here we model as a change in rigidity, Okay, we define it change in material property or the geometry. The material property basically we are talking about the Young modulus, and geometry basically we are talking about the I, that second moment of inertia. Okay, and another part is the damage may occur at the boundary and at the joint. Okay, that also our basically that also affect the performance of the structure. So now here you can see that basically we are modeling that damage in terms of reduction in the rigidity, okay, that EI, or the damage in the boundary. Then now how we'll model the damage in the boundary in the connection? There basically you have to assume some sort of spring. You will find that whoever is doing the damage reduction in the boundary, they are using some spring element, okay, and they are providing some stiffness, and they are trying to judge what is the stiffness is at the current position. Okay, so if the stiffness is very high, basically if the stiffness is very high, then basically our joint or the boundary is okay. If the stiffness is low, basically you can say that the joint or the boundary is damaged. Okay, so basically from the stiffness at the boundary or the stiffness of the spring, you have model to model the boundary and the connectivity, that spring stiffness we normally determine. Okay, so this is the about the modeling of the damage. Okay, now what are the causes of damage? Already we have already discussed many things. One is that your natural causes. If you think of the steel bridge, then there will be corrosion. If you think of the concrete bridge, then the corrosion of the steel will be there, as well as the degradation of the material property in the concrete also will be there. Damage also may come due to the operational point of view, fatigue load. If you think of the railway bridge, there basically your load is cyclic in nature, because load is frequently, same type of load frequently is passing through the bridge. So basically that is our operational point of view, and there can be sudden occurrence such as your earthquake load, impact, blast. Okay, so recently we have organized one small talk. There we observed that blast loading in concrete. Okay, there also one topic is that you can still carry the research, that is basically falling of concrete due to the blast. So you will find that Indian Army, they are making that your bunker. Okay, now if some blast happen, that concrete is to fall. Okay, and now thing is that suppose you are using some other material, or you can say you are doing some sort of casing, or you can what to say, we are applying some external material on the surface. If the blast happen, that concrete material will not fall. Okay, so this is one sort of research you can also carry on the concrete. Okay, due to the blast loading, but again it may be costly for you, because you have to arrange the blast loading. That is itself a costly thing maybe. Okay, so these are the some causes of damage for the structures. Okay. Now, what happened if you see the damage in the structure, you will find initially the damage was very low, and it was in the material level. Okay, not do not appear in the structural level. Okay, in the beginning it was very in the material level, and the damage basically try to grow. That you can say the damage or the defect or the flaws which was present in this at the material level, at the micro level, due to repetitive loading, due to other environmental impact, that damage basically try to increase grow. Okay, and when it grow at the end, we will find that uh, that basically the local damage try to join each other. Okay, and it become a macro level problem, which was initially a micro level, which is very small in nature, but later on it grow due to environmental impact, due to loading, and it comes to the macro level, and then ultimately it comes to our global level. Basically you can say, or which basically observable to us, or you can sense from the response. Okay, so initially which was very in micro level, gradually it grow to the macro level, and then it grow to our global level, which is observable, or you can say you can also sense from the response of the structures. Okay, Now, when you will find that our main job is to find the damage at least at the macro level, not at the micro level. Okay. What happens if the damage is observable to you, then there is no need to apply some all the things. There is no need to apply inverse algorithm, all the things. You will find there are a lot of research is going on using inverse of problem. Okay, in terms of global genetic algorithm, in terms of PLO, PSO, TLBO. Okay, you will observe that in that all the cases your amount of damage is very high. Okay, so if the damage is very high, basically there is no need to apply inverse algorithm. You can directly go and see the damage. Okay, so our main job of the Helmholtz technique is to detect the damage at the early stage so that it do not reach to the global level and do not impact the performance of the structure. Okay, now basically this you will see that Farada and Warden in 2007 he basically first coined the term of structural helminthing. Okay, the damage detection for the infrastructure application first referred by as a structural helminthing by Farada and Warden. Okay, so he is the first guy to say that okay, those who are doing damage detection problem basically they are dealing with the structural helminthing problem. Okay. Now, this damage detection problem basically involve the few things, that is your observation of structural response with periodically spaced measurement over the time and extraction of damage sensitivity features, correlation with the undamaged baseline data or the statistical pattern, and damage prognosis, basically estimation of remaining service life of the structure or of the structure. Okay, so here you will see that basically the structural health monitoring will involve these four parameters. First is a observation of the structural response with a periodically spaced measurement over the time. So this is the one line, but it is saying much more things. It is saying that you have to put some sort of sensor, okay, to get some data, and that should be periodically spaced. Basically, many places you have to put the sensor and you have to observe, or you can say you have to record the data with the time to time. It's a very difficult job for our civil engineering structure. You will find that in India it's very difficult to see some sort of structure where you are employing or you're putting some sort of sensor and you are measuring the data over the time, and you're that basically keeping the sensor in periodically space a very in larger number of location. Okay, now once you are able to do that, you will get some sort of response. Then now what job you have to extract the data, or you have to get the pattern, you have to extract the damage sensitivity from the features. So basically what it is saying that once you place that sensor, you get the data, you collect the data, and from that data you have to extract some sort of damage features. You have to see that whether there is response difference or not, and if the response difference is there, then how much difference is there, and for which sensor you are getting the basically some sort of sensitivity. Sensitivity in the sense basically changes in the response. Okay, so you have to do that part, and then you have to correlate with the undamaged baseline data. Okay, now again it is very difficult job to have a baseline data, because our building suppose made on 10 years back, 15 years back, maybe 20 or 50 years back. Okay, now in that case you will find that getting a baseline data itself a difficult job. Now what to do if you don't have any baseline data? Then you will find that nowadays the research still is going on the baseline free damage detection. This is also one hot topic you also can do with minimum facility. You have one model, okay, and you are trying to you just put one damage and you try to first detect it, and then see without any data, without any baseline data, whether you are able to detect the damage or not. Okay, because in civil engineering structure it is very difficult to have a baseline data. Now we can do one thing, we can see the statistical pattern of the data. You have one day, basically what you have to do, periodically you have to take the data, and from the data you have to see whether you are getting some pattern or not. Okay, now if you see that pattern is not matching, then you can see yes, some damage may be there. Okay, so basically statistical pattern also lead to your artificial intelligence case. Okay, there you have to do the, you have to employ the artificial intelligence to detect the damage, and you have to see whether damage is there, and then if damage you have detected, then again you have to go for regression analysis to identify the location and to get the depth of the damage. Okay, now once you are able to that identify the baseline, basically identify the damage location, then you have to, last job you have to basically calculate the what is the service life you have, remaining service life the structure have. Okay, so this is the uh, overall damage detection process should be. Okay, this is the expectation from a client to a researcher or to a design to a engineer. Okay, so one person may come and may ask you, sir, please let me know whether I can stay in my building, and if yes, then how many years I can stay. That is the simple question one person may ask you. Okay, because that is their expectation. Now probably now after the slide number 8 you are getting that how much it is difficult to say, because first of all identifying damage is difficult. Second is that if you are able to identify the damage, then what is the remaining service life itself is difficult job, because there you have to model proper model of the, you should have the proper model of the material, and you should have the basically model of the failure. Okay, if the concrete, then you have to concrete model, you have concrete damage model you have to do. If it's steel, if it is under your cyclic loading, in that case your analysis will be different. Okay, if it is composite material, then that failure of the composite will be different. Because basically to know how much service life we have, basically it is asking that how the damage will progress and how it will cause the ultimate failure of the structure. That is the basically main uh, basically question of that person who is asking you that if I want to, if I am able to stay here, then for how much time I can stay. Basically, it is indirectly asking, please let me know the how the building is going to fail. Now, if they want to say how the building or structure is going to fail, in that case, basically, if once you identify the damage, then you should go for proper analysis depending on the structure or depending on the material and depending on the loading. You have to identify that which model, numerical model you should employ to get the failure pattern, so that you can say what is the remaining service life the structure has. Okay, so this is the overall health monitoring thing we should do. Okay, now in the health monitoring things, or you can say in the damage detection thing, we have basically 5 level. Okay, so I already discussed this part that now if we see that what is the different level means, level 1 is basically ascertaining the existence of damage. First you have to identify that whether the structure is damaged or not. Okay, once you are able to identify whether damage there is not, okay, then your next job will be the determination of the location, at what location there is damage. Now thing is that damage can be at single location, damage can be multiple locations. Okay, so if you see, probably you are going through some literature of health monitoring, somebody among our participants may be doing research on the topic, will observe that most of the cases they are going for single damage. Okay, basically what they are saying, there is one structure and there is one damage, and that one damage only is causing the difference in the response. Okay, now he again try to apply some inverse algorithm to detect that single damage which is paying the structures. Now if the damage is multiple, in that case it will be difficult. Okay, so now to talk about our level. The level 1 is basically is talking about the existence of damage. Level 2 is talking about the determination of the location of the damage, and level 3 is talking about the determination of the type of damage. Okay, the type basically whether the support failure, joint failure, or member failure, like that. Okay, and next is that, so first you identify the type of damage, next is the your extent of damage. So what happened till now, if we find that the research which has carried out till now, most of the cases that is limited to level 4. First they are trying to identify damages there from the response reference, and then they have tried to identify the location, at which location, probable location, and they have tried to identify the location, basically whether that damage is there in that support or the joint or in the member. and from there they have tried to identify what the extent of damage, that basically how much stiffness is reduced or how much rigidity is reduced. Okay. Now next, the level 5 is itself a difficult job, and basically uh, that is the expectation from us, but still is difficult job, because for identifying that, determining the service life, okay, or the safe life, basically you should have proper model of the damage and the, or we can say the proper model of the material, proper model of the loading, okay, and overall you can say the proper numerical modeling of the structure, so that you can identify the remaining service life. Okay, so here it is saying that, see, each subsequent step. So if you go from level 1 to level 4 or level 5, we'll see that each step is the difficulty level is increasing. Obviously, it is increasing, and we are able to basically, if you see the research level, I'm not talking about that your the practical application. Only researcher who are doing research on this topic, they are able to go up to the level 4, and level 5 shall be difficult job, that basically you need another type of expert, which basically who is expert in the material modeling or structural modeling. Okay, so here you find in the health monitoring of the structure, we are not basically not doing the proper model of the damage, we are just reducing rigidity or the stiffness. Okay, we are not basically doing the proper damage model. Okay, that is our limitation, because we are already involving so many things that if you want to go for proper modeling of the damage to identify, then your analysis will be too more complicated, and you will find it's too much difficult to get the job done. Okay, so for the same reason, basically we are trying to reduce the EI, or we are trying to say how much EI the rigidity is changing, or the basically your stiffness in the boundary or the in the joint is changing. Okay, once you are able to identify that yes, there are some changes is there and this is the locations, then you can go for proper modeling. Okay, because since if you want to go for proper modeling, in that case you should have proper fine element modeling, proper refinement will be there, because fine element modeling itself one big task to do. There you should have proper model, proper knowledge of the finite element. Then only you will be able to do. And not only about the only finite modeling, you should also know that proper modeling of the material. Okay, if you're doing concrete, then you should know that concrete damage plasticity model. If you are doing some other steel and it is subjected to your cyclic loading, in that case also you should know that which loading basically you are doing some testing, and what is the level of stress in the real life application. Okay, because if when you are trying to identifying the remaining service life, then you have to go for nonlinear analysis. Now nonlinear analysis itself one difficult job to perform. Okay, because in the nonlinear, basically your response or you get the deflection is to be more. Okay, if you see the stress strain graph, that in the linear zone the strain is very limited, but if you go to the nonlinear zone, your strain is going to the nonlinear zone, and basically that time strain is a function of basically various parameter. Okay, at various stress level, your basically if you see that your stress strain graph, that basically that each point in the nonlinear zone is basically function of the tangent of the previous point. Okay, so basically there you have to do proper modeling. Unless you do proper modeling, you cannot predict that remaining service life. Okay, so we have discussed here up to the various level of basically damage detection. So we are limited to up to level 4, level 5 basically right now is not the aim of the structural health monitoring expert. They only saying that okay, this is the location, and they can basically uh, give some judgment. Okay, this is the location and this is the extent of damage. Now you can go for retrofitting, and these are the way we have to do the retrofitting, so that the service life can be extended, but you cannot judge that whether how much service will be and how it is going to fail. Okay, though that is the expectation from us, but it is very difficult to say. So basically we are limited to level 4. Now if you come to the health monitoring of scenario, okay, you will find that basically health monitoring should be conducted regularly, okay, to identify damage detections and to find out some strategy to basically detect the damage, or you can see inverse problem, or inverse way you can do, or you have to take the your response. You have to do some sort of statistical pattern analysis, or uh, you have to believe your sense that okay, you are getting some response difference, probably damage will be there. Okay, so basically it is saying that you should basically contact in regular basis, okay, so that you can identify the local damage, and once you identify, you can sort out the issue during that time, so that damage do not propagate and do not cause the global failure. But you will find that in India the scenario is very poor. If you see that in USA, basically the bridge is inspected every 2 years. Okay, so basically in USA every 2 to 3 years, all the bridge they used to um, inspect, and initially the cost of the inspection will be more, but once it is done, the service life that it will you can extend overall cost of the bridge. If you see the cost in full life span, that will be low. But in India, basically that regular inspection is not that much proper. Okay, in some cases 25 years they have not done an inspection, some cases they have not done in their full lifespan. Okay, so it is in India, that in the research point of view, it is very popular. You can see that in India, it is written there. Many researchers are working on the health monitoring, structural health monitoring. But if you see that real life application, that basically very low. So since it is very low, now you can see whenever I am saying low, basically there is some sort of scope you have that you yourself can contribute in that field. Okay. Now since no one has carried out, and it is a scope still you have, basically it is also saying that it is a little bit challenging. Okay, because if it was easy, then globally many people are there who are working, they could have done that. But since it is left out, that means still basically there is a some challenge still they have. Basically there is some challenge still have, that basically the challenge is difficult, and you need to you need to spend for more time to sort out the challenge, but you have the scope to do some sort of research. Now here, if you go to that your methodology for the damage detection, okay, so basically model updating using inverse method we can do. One is the your direct way. Okay, direct in the sense you are not using any sort of algorithm. Okay, so in that case what you are doing, you are modeling the structure many times. Okay, every time you are changing the property, and you are modeling and changing the property and try to get the response, and from the response you are trying to predict that what is the damage locations and rest of the level 1 to level 4. Okay, now if you go to if you think of the inverse way, now thing is that direct technique is very time consuming, because every time you have to model it, and you have to reduce, or you have to change some parameter, and you have to come up with the some result. Okay, now to avoid that, what happened, that your inverse way or indirect way, you can say, are come to the pictures. That one inverse way is your gradient based method. So gradient means basically you have to take that you have to find the tangent, and from the tangent basically you have to see that what is the next, what is the, if you change little bit delta under the response from that gradient, you can find what is the total change you have. So it is basically each step you have to see that how the response is changing, and from there you can detect that what is the damage location. So one is your gradient based method, another is your statistical pattern recognition method. So statistical pattern recognition method basically you support vector machine algorithms or artificial intelligence. Okay, so whenever you will find the term statistical pattern recognition, you will find nowadays AI term is very popular in the market. Okay, AI basically they are using for facial recognitions. You will find that term basically was very much applicable for your electronics and other application. Okay, and since in the initial I already told that if you find that chronological development of all the things, we'll find that all the technology initially was applicable for either aerospace or electronics or mechanical. Then from there we try to borrow some application and we try to apply in our civil engineering field. So you will also find that AI also many researchers are using to identify the damage in our civil engineering structures. Okay, again, it's also a challenging job. Challenging in the sense you should have a correct model. Okay, in the AI, what happen when you are going for statistical pattern recognition technique? In that case, what happened? You are trying to have a pattern. Pattern of what? Pattern of the response. It can be deflection or it can be frequency. Okay, deflection basically, since many are there, they are basically very much familiar with the deflection term. Okay, now suppose you have one building and you are at that top of the building, you are putting some horizontal load, and that due to that it is behaving as a cantilever, and you are getting some sort of deflection as a cantilever beam. So basically, you can say the whole beam you are modeling as a cantilever, and you are applying one static loading, and due to that you are getting some response. Now, what the statistical pattern recognition will do? You have to basically change the load, and you have to each time, if you change the load, each time you will have one unique deflection, and you have to note down the deflection. Okay. Now you have to introduce damage at various locations in the cantilever, and each damage location and each loading you have a response. So you have total response will be maybe 2000, 5000, 50,000 like that. Okay, you will have a lot of response, and from there you will try to get a pattern. Okay, now suppose you have similar model and you only knowing the response of a damage model. Now since we have 50,000 data, from there you can have a pattern, and from this data you try to fit in the 50,000 model and try to judge what is the at which damage model it is fitting, and from there we can judge that okay, since I already have 50,000 data and you are giving one data, and from there you can detect it. Okay, so basically pattern recognition technique is what or artificial intelligence or SVM, all the things are worked in that way, but thing is that you should have a proper model. Unless you are your forward model, first initial model is correct, unless it is correct, your pattern recognition technique also will fail. Okay, that work very well with the statistical, that work very well with the electronics and mechanical people, because they are mechanical people. What they used to do, suppose they have machines, that machine can be prototype, and that machine is basically established in many various factory. In one factory in various locations they can establish. Now suppose they are able to detect damage, okay, of one machine, using that data they also can detect the damage of other machine. Okay, but for our case all the model are unique, and for each building you should have a unique model, and that model should be correct. Unless your model, the forward model is correct, okay, you will land up to the wrong data, a wrong prediction. Okay, another method is that meta heuristic method using baseline model, and another is the damage prediction using baseline tree model. Okay, so this also research is also both. You'll find that this last three research still is going on, and you also can contribute with a minimum amount of resource. Okay, that is my main aim, to give the idea at which position you can contribute. Okay, if you'll find that in the statistical pattern recognition technique, if you go through some course on some online course, or you can see some YouTube video, you can come up with the idea how you can use SVM and artificial intelligence. Okay, and now you will have a model, a simple model you can have, and from there you can detect the damage. Basically, numerical things you can do to do your own research. Though those are the faculty here, they can ask their student to work on that topic. That also will be very interesting. Another you can do, there is a meta heuristic method using the baseline model. So meta heuristic basically your PSO, TLBO, all the things basically come under the meta heuristic based approach. There basically you should have a baseline model. That model is correct, should be correct. Okay, basically that your boundary conditions and your connection, all those things should be correct, and from there you can employ that TSO, TLPO algorithms to detect the damage. But again, I'm just giving the warning that your forward model should be correct. Okay, so what happens sometimes we also observe to match the response. Basically, we should go in one way, that is your first you do some sort of experiment, and then you should carry out some numerical modeling and try to match the data of your numerical model with the experimental model. Okay, now what happens? Some students, they used to thought that since the numerical modeling in Abacus or ANSYS, that is very standard software, since the numerical modeling used to give the correct result, they first carry out the numerical modeling and they are getting some response, and then they used to go for experiment and they used to manipulate the boundary condition in such a way that his numerical model and his experimental model matches the data. Now if you go in that way, basically you are doing the research in wrong way. Many student or many uh, you can say many MTech, BTech student used to do like that way, but that is very wrong way. First, you should carry out the experiment, because experimental result is that real thing that you can observe which is happening in real life. Now you have to model a numerical. So first, it may happen that your numerical model is not matching with experimental data. Then what you should do? Then you should first check, okay, your boundary conditions. You have to do some changes in your numerical modeling. Instead of fixed, you have to make a spring model, and you have to change the spring, the stiffness of the spring, and you have to see whether your response is matching or not. If you find that okay, no, if you have changed the spring stiffness many times but still your data is not matching, okay, probably that boundary condition may not be the causes of the mismatch of your data. Then you have to change your that I value, because what happened, your thickness of the sample of the structure may not be unique, because there is some tolerance limit. Okay, so depending that what basically you have to measure the thickness properly and then come up with the proper EI value. Okay, so basically there will be two or three things, either boundary condition, boundary stiffness, or joint stiffness, or your EI. These three things can change. So you have to change, you have to play with this all three data, and you have to see that for which data your numerical modeling is matching with your experimental data, because experiment data is your real data, you cannot change that. Okay, so first you have to do some experiment and then you have to do some numerical modeling, and you have to try to match the data. And once you match the data, that means basically you have cleared the first stage. You have one real numerical model, basically one model which is representing one experimental data. Now you can go for your pattern recognition technique. You can go for any other technique to apply, or you for your health monitoring of the structure. Okay, so those are thinking of other way, but they are doing in wrong thing. Okay, you should be careful while doing numerical as well as the experimental data. In that case, you should be careful that first you are not manipulating with the experiment. Experimental data is real. Okay, and you should manipulate. You should basically play with the numerical model so that your experimental result matches. One, two times you can do. You can repeat the experiment. Okay, suppose you are doing some cantilever testing on cantilever things. You can do one thing. You can repeat the test, and you have to see. You can see that your data is changing or not. Okay, it may happen that first test may be wrong. First, second test you are carrying out that is correct. Okay, so you like that you can repeat the test or repeat the experimental test. Okay, once you repeat the test, then you will be sure, okay, there is no wrong thing in the experiment. Now you have to go for numerical modeling, and the numerical modeling basically you have to play with the different parameters so that your numerical model and the experimental result matches very well. Okay, and thereafter you can go for your this application of gradient based method or statistical pattern recognition method or any other meta heuristic method. You can use the baseline model, or you can use the baseline free model. Okay, so baseline free models don't require any baseline, but again there is some danger thing that I will discuss. Danger thing is, just see what happen. You will find that having with the baseline model. Okay, if you have the baseline model, Then also, if the damage is multiple, in that case we'll find that you are not getting unique damage location. If you are able to identify the damage location, then identifying that damage location as well as the extent of damage is very difficult in a one way. Okay, if you try to find that location of damage as well as the extent of damage in one way, in one line, okay, one time, okay, simultaneously, so extent of damage and the location of damage simultaneously, in that case we'll find that you are not getting the unique data. Now see, with the baseline data you are not able to detect the damage. Okay, you are not able to detect the unique location and unique basically uh, depth of damage. Okay, then how you can be able to find without baseline? Okay, so basically it may happen that you are modeling, you are judging the response of one building, but basically at the end when you are giving some suggestion, that it may happen that you are giving the suggestion for another building. Okay, since you don't have any baseline data, that means you don't have any model. Baseline data basically is saying that you don't, suppose you don't have any model and you are trying to judge the damage location and you try to predict the location as well as the extent of damage. Okay, in that case it may happen that you are grossly doing mistake there. Okay, because with the baseline data, with the application of inverse algorithms such as genetic algorithm, PSO, TLB, whatever you have, that itself is challenging job. Now with the baseline, without the baseline data, it is more challenging. Okay, so those who are working on baseline field data, they should take proper precautions. Okay, so that misinformations can be avoided. Okay, so these are the things we have. Okay, so now if you do the summary, basically what we discuss here till now, basically we have discussed that what we should do, what is the basically different, what is the various type of structures, and we have learned that we should go for periodical damage, periodical damage helmoting, periodical helmoting we should do, and we should basically go for some sort of sensor with pre-selected location. In the sense, you have to put the sensor in various location, and you have to observe the data. From there, you can uh, we can get some sort of sensitivity features, and there you can thereafter you can also apply some sort of pattern. You can get some sort of pattern, and then you should correlate the data with the experimental data and numerical model, and then you should go for your uh, identifying the remaining service life. So these are the things basically we should do in health monitoring. Okay, and thereafter we can go for your finite element model updating. So finite element model updating, that term I'm just say basically here you have to do one finite element modeling. Okay, then you have to update. So basically finite element modeling of one structure is itself a difficult job. Okay, then there will be your updating. Okay, so basically you have to see that how we can employ finite element as well as some sort of model updating algorithm, AI, SVM, or PSO, or genetic algorithm. Okay, that also one difficult job. Another job you have finite element modeling. Another job you have basically model updating algorithms, and third job you have that your the experimental result. Okay, so all are three difficult job, are three difficult itself, three area, and three area itself a difficult task, difficult job. And those who are working on the structural health monitoring, they should have a proper knowledge of all the three things. First of all, your finite element modeling, second thing your experiment, and third thing your model updating algorithm. So once you have all the three idea, once you have all the three clear idea of all the three things, proper idea, because there can be, you can go wrong. Okay, there can be modeling error in the finite element, there can be testing error in the experimental facility, and there can be error in the algorithms which you are writing. Okay, if you are directly copy pasting some algorithm, or if you are using that your MATLAB toolbox, in that case there may not be any error in that algorithms. Okay, but thing is that you are using or you are believing one toolbox blindly. Okay, and without observing and without judging it, you are just believing that okay, that toolbox is exactly proper and there is nothing wrong in the toolbox, MATLAB tool. Okay, and you are employing it. So basically what happens in that case, you will be a you are using one blind box, you can say. Okay, you are using one black box, you can say. Okay, without knowing that which parameter is playing role in your model updating, we are just trying to tune it to get your response. Okay, basically you are trying to satisfy yourself. Instead of solving one real life problem, you are just tuning some parameter to satisfy yourself to get some sort of data. Okay, so this type of research is there, but again you have to be you have to take proper care if you want to work in this field. Okay, so basically you should have proper finite element modeling, because you should know that in the modeling what the error may come and what may be the reason that your response is not matching. Okay, there are various issues in the finite element modeling itself. There is various issue in the in the experiment also. Okay, and there also is an issue in the model updating algorithm. So you should be clear of all the things. You should not have any doubt on these three things. Then only you will be able to apply Helmholtz things. Okay, so now what happened? If you see, after doing all the things, okay, again you only will be able to judge up to level 4. That also if the damage is only one, right, one or two. If damage location and extent of damage is large, so number of damage location is large, and that suppose 10 location damage is there and the 10 location and the extent of damage is different. Okay, you will find that your algorithm also failed. Okay, so you will find that there is a lot of difficulties there, and difficulty is these three things. Okay, so basically what I want to emphasize, that if you want to work in this field, in that case you should have a proper knowledge of all the things. Not only you will be able to contribute in this field. Okay, so let me stop here and let me take some question, then I will again come to you. Okay, if I feel that okay we should continue, I will continue. Otherwise again next lecture, because one more lecture I will take, that time we will discuss more details. Okay, so I'm stopping here. If you have some doubt you can ask, I will be happy to reply. Okay, if you are new or very good questions, okay, later on I also will cite the questions. Okay, I will not leave the questions, and you will find I that in the after 1 year, 2 year, maybe after 3 years also I will give the reply of that questions. It happened with me one day actually long back. I was a lecturer in some places. So one student asked one question, and that question I got the answer of the question after 4 5 years. That time the student passed out from the BTech. He joined some college, some company. But after 5 years, in my mail, his mail ID was there. So I replied the mail that you long back you asked me these questions. Now I got the answer. Okay, so if you have some good questions, you also can ask. Okay, so don't be afraid and be free to ask any questions, because this lecture was scheduled to be on 25th, but due to some reason, I finished it now. So what if you will find that I have three, you can see that it is SHM NIT lecture 1, like that I have 3 lecture. Okay, so I may take 2 more lecture. Okay, if you are available, I can take. Okay, so if you have any questions, please raise your hand. There is one question. Please share the screen. No, there is no question. See that student are not asking, the participant are not asking any question. You should ask some question. Okay, you are here to clear your doubt. Those are working in this field, they should ask some question. Okay, Professor Mukherjee, are you here? Okay, Mukherjee is not here. Mukund Kumar Mishra. Okay. Antarja South. Hello, Professor. Professor, your that is muted here. Okay, will come. Is there anybody else? Romampally Rahul. Rahul, you used to ask some question. Why you're not asking any question here?
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Sir, I have a question is that, sir, you in the presentation you have told about the baseline data
Three.
of
Yes, yes,
a building.
yes,
Sir,
yes.
what is that baseline data actually? Practically, what is that baseline data?
Baseline
Can you
data in the
explain with the
sense
example?
that is basically undamaged structure. Like suppose you have made a structure long back, 25 years or 50 years back. Okay. Now after 50 years, you are getting some damage. Suppose somebody is getting some damage in his building, in his structure, and he is coming to you and he is asking, see, uh, Aditya, I am getting some damage. Please let me know. I am getting some. I want to do the helmeting of the things because our owner of the building is asking that how much time we can stay here. Okay, what is the remaining service life? Please let me know. Okay. Now, if you want to judge that what is with the behavior, then how you will judge? You should have basically one undamaged structures, and then you can see that after 50 years how much it is damaged. Unless you have that real model, exact model, which was basically casted during or which was basically constructed after 50 years, it is very difficult for you to judge the what is the strength of the material you have. Because baseline data is basically one undamaged model we are talking about.
Sir, baseline data means the of a structure means the concrete grade and other thing or the
Yes, yes, all the things,
response of
all
that
the
building,
things. Or no,
all the
no,
things.
the baseline model, basically no, only that material modeling and then your boundary conditions, all the things. Okay, so
Okay,
50
sir.
years back, who will measure the acceleration because the methodology will change. 50 years back, there is one method. After 50 years, okay, there will be another method and another instrument. Okay, you cannot judge because only thing is basically your material modeling, geometrical modeling, okay, and boundary condition, all the details, connectivity, because after after few years you may do some modification, what modification you have did and how much you have created damage that time, all the things basically you have to. So basically baseline is talking about your undamaged model.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Professor Mukherjee,
Yeah,
I am happy to hear
hi,
you.
Professor Mondal, fine, nice presentation. A nice thing for the
Yes,
maybe
actually
for
I
postgraduate students. Yeah, tell me. Hello.
yes, please continue.
Uh, So this is a nice topic you have discussed. So there is a lot of scope for postgraduate and PhD students to work with. Actually, this is a very very serious issue nowadays
Yes,
because we have built lot of structures, particularly the public service system, like
yes,
infrastructural systems like bridges, mostly bridges and flyovers. Those are the
yes,
most
yes,
damaged structures
yes,
because
yes,
of because of no maintenance or very less
yes,
maintenance.
yes.
Actually, maintenance people come into picture when there
That is
is
the already
something went wrong.
serious thing
When
happened, and that
something,
time we don't have any scope to do or contribute.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Actually, I'm from Kolkata, around Kolkata. So in Kolkata, there had been lot of issues during last few years. There was
Mm,
a collapse of a bridge. There was a collapse of a under construction flyover that was almost completed, and
yes,
there was
yes,
a collapse. Somewhere it was a design problem. Somewhere, This was a health monitoring issue, nobody
Yeah.
cared, and somewhere it is, there are actually we had a lot of webinars on this in our department. So
Mm-hmm.
somebody, an expert of this health monitoring system, there is a committee formed in West Bengal who are the experts from various IITs and Jadavpur University, B College, IIST. So with this committee, they used to suggest a lot of procedures to be followed, and with
Mm-hmm.
some expert consultants from abroad
Mm-hmm.
also. They are also associated. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that person who was coordinator in this group, he
Mm-hmm.
came and we came to know the reality, real life informations. And one
Yes,
such
yes,
was, he was referring to some flyover. He
yeah.
said we are barred to do so many things for some structures or something. So this flyover, I don't name that flyover because
Mm-hmm.
everybody will be scared. That
Mm-hmm.
flyover has got every negative points one should not have. That is running for last 15, 20 years. So these
Uh,
are the situations. So now, anyway, better late than never. There had been a lot of work being done here,
okay.
monitoring lot of bridges and structures. And actually, in our postgraduate curriculum also, we have a subject like repair and rehabilitation of structures.
Yes, yes.
There I used to teach them, take their classes about this. So this is something,
Okay.
very, very interesting. But
Yeah.
this your approach, as you said, it is a holistic approach.
Mm.
You cannot complete this with a single idea of structural
Yes.
modeling or
Yes.
material science or expert in concrete or expert in structural analysis. No, you
Yes.
have to take it in a holistic.
Only approach. Yes.
So yeah, then only you can find out the reason. And basic thing
And
is to find out the reason to avoid future happening of the same thing repeatedly,
yes.
of the
Yes.
environmental conditions and all sorts of. So there
Yes.
is a as you said, rightly said, there is a huge scope in
Yes.
doing a lot of
Research.
work in this
Yeah.
area.
Yes. Research as well as a consultancy both. If
Yeah,
anybody in the participant want to do some sort of company, I think they will be hugely benefited because in India, very less amount of people are there who are doing that helmeting. Okay.
yeah,
There is no need
yeah,
to do for invest so many money. You can go if you have some sense. Okay, you just suggest something which is applicable for one building because all the things are unique and
yeah.
as a professional, as a working professional, as a professor here, it is very difficult for us to go there because we have other duties to perform here.
Yeah,
So they used to
yes,
come to us to say something. They used to go to IITs. Now, thing is that see, we are in another profession. We are
yeah,
knowing many things. Probably we may be able to give some good judgment, but the time we should devote for that particular problem, we don't have that much time.
right,
So,
right. That's
so if you
absolutely right.
have some sense and you can go there and basically you can do open a company or you can do the health monitoring thing.
Yeah, yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Discuss one more topic that is damping. That is very interesting. You will find that in the damping area, very less amount of research has been carried out. Real research, okay, research is there, but if you say the real contribution, you will find that very less contribution is there, and there is some scope. But again, when I am saying there is a scope and it is unsolved, that means it is a challenging job. That's why it is unsolved. Okay, so
Yeah,
but scope is there. With the limited resource, you also can work on the damping, numerical modeling, all the things. With the limited resource, you can do.
okay.
Okay. So next class, I hope you also will enjoy, and I also try to continue from this point because in the I left about that vibration, how normally people used to go for health monitoring using vibration data, and why they are going for vibration data. Okay, that I will discuss. But let me discuss in very short. See what happened. We can measure what things. We can measure deflection, static deflection. Okay. Now having studied deflection is very difficult job because our indeterminacy is very high. Okay, so now we can go for vibration analysis. Now in the vibration analysis, instead of static deflection, we can go for deflection of with a dynamic in nature, or you can measure the acceleration. Okay, now in real life, basically we can measure either static deflection or vibration, or we can go for wave propagation. These are three in, you can see, in holiest way we can go, because we don't have any other, we cannot have any other information. Either we can have displacement or velocity or acceleration. What else we can have? Nothing. Okay, now we have to deal with that only, and from this information we have to come up with some sort of algorithm or some sort of scheme so that we can go for Helmholtz. Okay, since we don't have any other information, any other more information, that the problem lies with our civil engineering structure. Okay, that I will discuss in the next lecture, that how we should go, how normally we go for Helmholtz using vibration data. Okay, and after that, next lecture I also try to discuss that how the damping play a role, and how the researcher carefully avoided the damping in the research work as well as in the real life problem. Okay, you will find that Rayleigh in 18,009 probably, that time he proposed one algorithm for the damping, and for last 200 years we are using that equation. Okay, you will also enjoy that journey of the damping, how damping play a role, and how the researcher has carefully avoided the damping term in their application, in real life application, as well as in the research point of view. Okay, there is one Aditya was raised one question, and there is one Puja Kadampalli.
Very good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Okay, sir, as you said, we need to create a numerical model
Yes.
doing the experiment. Okay.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
how exactly we can simulate the load conditions, sir? Because we don't know at the first place what caused that damage. So,
Mm-hmm.
what are the exact load conditions? So, how do we, simulate the load conditions of the in reality
Yes.
to the model?
Now, sir, see, now what happened if you try to measure your time response? In that case, deflection, or you can say your load application, play an important role. Okay, now that you can avoid if you measure the frequency, because if you measure natural frequency, we'll find that natural frequency, that equation is that omega is equal to root under k by m.
From that
Okay,
we'll get the response deflection.
no, the frequency, see, if you say what I am saying, that if you are doing all the analysis using the time response, okay, so time response is basically a function of loading also.
Yes.
Okay, now there is a lot of difficulty because you don't know what type of loading causes the damage, and in the future how the load is causing the damage. Okay, and how you will match your response, numerical model response, as well as the experimental response. It is very difficult, really it is difficult. Okay, now to avoid the difficulty, what you should do, you should measure the frequency.
Okay.
So how you will get the frequency? You, instead of deflection, you just displacement, you just measure the acceleration.
Okay.
You just put some accelerometer, you measure the acceleration, and do the FFT, frequency response, frequency function, or FFT, that is basically transformation, where you can transform the acceleration data or time data to the frequency domain data. Okay.
Yes.
Now beauty thing is that the frequency, if you can remember, the frequency is equal to root under k by m.
Yes.
Okay, now there is no loading, no time, nothing.
Okay.
Now that is basically constant for a omega. See, omega is equal to function of k and mass.
Stiffness and mass. Yes.
Now mass is again is constant because mass normally do not change for our structure.
Yes. So
Now what it
depends
can change only
stiffness.
stiffness only. Now stiffness, there can be two things. One is that spring model, basically boundary stiffness, joint stiffness, and stiffness of the member. Okay. Now here you have to judge which part is playing a role, and you can match the response, and you can do.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Nice. Sir, actually
Yes.
you also mentioned about this gradient-based method.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what exactly it is?
That is one I will show one example problem how basically we are doing. Gradient is basically that change in response by change in parameter.
Okay.
So if you see that your xy graph change in y by change in x, that is your theta, tan theta.
Mhm.
That is the gradient of a you can say response.
Okay.
If you have basically what happen, if you have a smooth curve, in that case it's very easy to get the gradient, because you can change what is the change in y and y change in x. You will get the tangent. The tangent is the gradient. Okay. Now that also somehow applicable for discrete data. Suppose you have first natural frequency, second natural frequency, third, because frequency when you are talking about, basically you are talking about first natural frequency, second natural frequency, like that. Okay. So that also is applicable for discrete data. So what we will do there, we used to change very slight change we used to do in the parameter, and we try to see how much response is changing. Okay. So now from there we can have that tan theta, basically angle, that is the gradient. Okay. Now once you get the gradient, now if you multiply with how much changes you did, from there you can find how much it can jump. Okay. So I will discuss this thing in the next lecture when we discuss about your health monitoring using vibration and data. Okay. And my PhD scholar are working on PSO, TLBO. Okay, so I also will ask him that to show some MATLAB program. Okay, and you can do one thing. You can take the snapshot, or recording will be there. Okay, and the good thing will be you can type that MATLAB algorithm in your problem. You also will be solved. You also will be solve some small problem. Okay, now if you want to apply that thing in other problem, you also will be able to apply, but you have to change the forward model. Basically, that suppose I am solving for cantilever beam. Okay, now if you change it for other model, you can also will be solved. Okay, so next class I will try to discuss about your vibration based damage detection, how we used to go, what is gradient based, how we can take the gradient, all the things, and then I will try to discuss about the damping, how the damping play a role, and how the researcher has carefully avoided damping for vibration data as well as for wave propagation, both the way I will discuss. Okay. Another thing, Aditya already discussed. Is there any question? Okay. There are no questions. So I'm ending the session here. Okay. So tomorrow we'll meet at 10 a.m. Professor Sarkar will give a talk. His talk mainly
Okay.
will be on the break block MSMD. I hope you also will enjoy that Professor Sarkar talk, because he used to do very simple experiment, and he used to publish very good paper. So you also will get the idea that how easily we also can carry out some research. So what happen, you will find he first do some bonding in the, say there is a last class one student asked who on that lecture of basically earthquake with the brick wall. One student asks us what about the bonding between the two brick. Okay, Professor Sarkar actually exactly work on that topic. He published one good paper on ASC. So what happened? He used the bond of a two brick, and he tried to judge what is the basically
Okay.
property of that bonding. Okay, and how all the things are influencing. Okay, so we'll meet tomorrow class. Okay, to not class, your lecture by Professor Sarkar, and then there
Okay.
will be lecture of Arun Sio. Okay, so let us stop here.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mundal.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
okay.